Hey guys, welcome back to the Capital Mindset Show. Today's going to be just a quick update. We actually see some interesting news here, and I'll actually share that with you guys right now. Charlie Munger actually sold half of his position in Alibaba. Now, before we begin here, I just want to actually state that I don't think Charlie Munger sold his position because of the reasons I've stated as a concern in the past. I think that the reason why he sold his position is perhaps to de-risk the Daily Journal, because maybe there's recession fears or the like, but we don't really know. We won't actually know. There's just going to be some speculation. I have seen already some criticisms on Charlie Munger saying, "Oh, haha, he bought high and sold low," which is kind of the case here. So that is what is concerning to me, at least. But I hold Alibaba. I've stated all my criticisms about Alibaba. This video is not really about that. It is interesting to note that a lot of the counter criticisms towards my criticisms are typically that Charlie Munger is invested in Alibaba. And we just heard him talk really good about Alibaba. To only see him sell half of his stake, it is a little bit concerning, or not concerning, but fishy to me. I don't really know why he did that. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. Do you think he sold because he's realizing something is fishy with Alibaba, or is it, some other inconspicuous thing that we're just not really seeing? Well, the only way we'll actually find out is if we're in his head. But again, I think it's not because he's changed his mind drastically. I think if that was the case, he'd probably sell the whole thing. I would love to have a chat with Charlie Munger, but unfortunately, I don't think that'll ever happen in my life because, I'm a little minnow and he's a whale. So unless his channel somehow blows up very large, and I'm talking about very, very large, and then he sees this and he's like, "Oh, I want to be interviewed by Capital Mindset." Doubt that would ever happen, but we can all dream. On that other note, I'm also going to segue this into a little bit of a macro talk because I have had it requested, and hopefully this kind of satisfies a lot of the cravings by that. But if you have any questions about any of this stuff, it's really good to meet me on the live chats or the live sessions that are here on Capital Mindset. I have them typically on Tuesdays or Fridays. I try to do them, but just watch out for those. And then when those come up, those are really good opportunities if you have any questions you want to ask me live on the spot, so you can get that raw answer instead of kind of like a scripted feel, because it's a different dynamic, especially when you're live. I have a lot of fun answering questions there. But back to kind of like a macro topic. I do think that it is a bit of a concern. We have been talking on this channel a lot about the liquidity crunch. We talked about it last year. We're still not out of it. We might get out of it soon. Who knows when we're really going to get out of it? And we're still, again, the market's kind of concerned because the Federal Reserve might have to raise rates even more. And again, if you've been Snyder-pilled, you know that that's just sentiment driven. It's not in reality, in terms of like direct impact. They impact it on the sentiment basis, but not on the real basis. And then if you're not Snyder-pilled, you think that the Federal Reserve is raising rates and that's going to slow down the economy in order to stop inflation. We have the White House came out with a report today saying that inflation is going to be sustained and much larger than previously anticipated. They're kind of finally admitting to that. And I've been already, it's not been a secret. The portfolio actually has to update because ConocoPhillips, which I'll actually pull up the stock right now, but ConocoPhillips is a much smaller position in the portfolio, and I do have to make sure I get that updated for you guys. Again, if you go look at the portfolio, it hasn't updated since the date in the top left-hand corner. But ConocoPhillips is a position that has been designated as a sell. I've already made videos about that. And I think the video when I made the video was at like $93 per share, so it's actually still higher than that video. But I have sold a significant portion above 100 now. And, I'm still very happy even if I sold the whole thing today. I'm not going to sell the entire thing. I've already sold more than my capital that I put in. And taking a look at what might happen in the future, though, I do think that a lot of the benefits that we've been seeing from oil companies will actually kind of retract slightly. And what I mean by that is, again, if we have the consumer kind of getting squeezed at the margins, eventually that is going to cause a commodity deleveraging, right? So commodity deleveraging simply means that there's going to be less spending on these things. And we are seeing concerns, for example, with Tesla, and I think Tesla actually came down here today a little bit with that news. We'll talk about this for a little bit, but Tesla is down based on the concerns about the supply chain. I know that some people out there might think it's hedge funds that are causing it, a little on the nose there. But for the most part, what's causing the down drop today is not hedge funds, but actually supply chain concerns. And if we look at other stocks like NVIDIA is actually down on order drops, right? So the concern for orders actually dropping. This is kind of the canary in the coal mine that we can kind of talk about with the consumer not spending as much. And then you go down the chain, companies might stop spending on CapEx. And then that CapEx is someone else's income. So this continues and ripples throughout the economy. It might cause a problem. How this changes in my investment thesis, it doesn't at all. I already have positions in the portfolio that serve as kind of counterbalances to one another. Thor Industries is one if the consumer does really well. I have another one in the portfolio that I don't really talk about because it is a small. I had someone actually comment a question about the stock, and I kindly told them that I wouldn't make ever a video about it because of its size. It would be irresponsible of me to create that as a habit, but I would be willing to I would be open to answering a question on it during a live stream. And again, that's why it's good to show up to those live streams, because it is an opportunity for you guys to ask me a question live. I know that there's time constraints, and I feel very bad. Remember that there's time constraints upon me in terms of when I'm available. I wish I could, have multiple live streams throughout the day. Maybe one day when I'm in a different kind of job position, career-wise, where my time is a little bit more free. I hope to do that. I really enjoy those live streams and talking and chatting with you guys. But regarding the macroeconomics, if you're, for example, an index fund investor, you shouldn't really worry too much about any of this. You should focus mainly on securing your income, making sure your income is secured. And if a recession occurs, hopefully you don't lose your job. Not to fearmonger in that sense, but make sure that your income is secure and stable income primarily, and then make sure you have enough, to go off of in case of an emergency. And then just if all that is good and set, then focus on actually accumulating on the downtrend if we actually have a downtrend. And that's all you should really, really care about. Okay, so then again, number one, income, security, family security, and all that, your health, and then buy on the dip, because you will see better days ahead. We just got to get through this. At least the United States economy has got to get through this. So again, that's the optimist in me that things will improve. There's always like the pessimist option. I come from a country that absolutely destroyed itself. So, you know me that I'd probably be one of those, or counted among, so I think it'd be understandable if I was a pessimist. Okay. But taking a look, for example, at my portfolio, again, I'm not really going to change it. I'm going to look for assets that I like, that I want to add to my portfolio at good prices. Again, now it starts to make sense why maybe Buffett bought HPQ. It serves as kind of like a cheap cash cow that's going to cannibalize itself and have a stable business throughout whatever market trend that occurs. It's even priced for a decline, so who knows. So I think that's what it's focused on. We looked at companies like StoneCo. StoneCo has new developments that are a little bit concerning, but I was already concerned about it to begin with because it is a Brazilian fintech. People like to associate it with other fintechs in the United States. I think it's kind of a mislabel. And again, I have a Brazilian wife, so it's not like I hate Brazil or anything like that. It's just an acceptance of reality in terms of the differences, and why, if you're not yourself Brazilian, it might be a massive disadvantage to you to fully understand. So some of you I know are Brazilian. Some of my followers out there are Brazilian. You guys have a massive advantage in terms of investing in your home country than someone outside of the country. So you're more in tune with what's going on. And that goes for every single country. So we, for example, see Charlie Munger selling a half of stake in Alibaba. Again, I in my opinion, I've used this phrasing exactly, that I believe that Charlie Munger's a great investor. I won't take that away from him. And I think that there's a lot of great investors that apply the Western normative narratives to countries that perhaps are not applicable. So it is in my belief that, not all markets are the same, right? We can't apply the same rules to other markets. There are nuanced differences between some markets. And that even goes with countries like Brazil or Colombia or Mexico. All these countries, there are separate implicit rules in commerce, right? So, there's more room for ambiguity in some instances, and the justice systems aren't as strong in some instances. So, I hope I'm getting the point across there, that there are some difficulties in investing abroad. So you have some advantages if you are from that domestic place. And I've had a lot of comments actually from Chinese citizens, funnily enough, reaching out saying that what I was saying was entirely correct, and that they are kind of wowed by Westerners not understanding that. And these are, I'm just taking their word for it in the comments that they are Chinese citizens living abroad. And then they are fans of the channel, and I welcome them. And I think they provide really good insight when they do comment. I think it's good to hear other people's perspectives in that sense, in a global perspective. So what's going on, I think, for the next couple quarters, this is like coin toss at this point, because as I've stated, making macroeconomic predictions is extraordinarily difficult because you might miss a factor or two. But what I would say, kind of like a cop-out answer, is I would not be surprised if we do have a recession. The issue is, how big of a recession will it be? I don't know the answer to that, and because of that, I'm not making any specific moves. I do have some, positions that would benefit if something happens, and I have some positions that would benefit if it doesn't happen. I want to actually talk about AMD as well. So AMD is kind of down for more or less the same reasons, because NVIDIA is kind of bringing down everyone, and AMD is now down below $100 a share here today. So I stand by my statements that I've made in the past, and the original video I think of AMD was around here, and it's kind of gone nowhere since then, slightly down now, but we have to remember that I was wrong for a while because it actually rose up about 60%. But no video will ever be deleted in that sense. But I stand by what I said in that video and in more recent videos about AMD. I do want to own AMD. I think it's a great asset, a great company. Lisa Su's done a fantastic job. She's proven herself. They have that exposure to Taiwan Semi, and I know that is a bit of a concern. But overall, over the longer term picture, I don't think it's that much of a concern. I just need the price to be appropriate for me to actually justify adding it to my portfolio. But it is a company that is definitely on there that I want to add. We take a look at something like Salesforce. Salesforce is another fantastic company here, down below $200. It's still not at that buy price. I do need to do a video on Salesforce. It deserves its own video. It is on my watch list. So actually there is a sheet tab. If you look down at the bottom, you can actually switch to it in the public portfolio that shows the watch list. Salesforce is on there. Yeah, and then I think the newest edition, Magna International, let me see how they're doing actually live here with you guys. So they are, I think, down, they have come down a little bit. I'm still adding to this position, and I want to actually build it up to a decently sized position, but we'll have to see if the market actually gives me that opportunity. I do suspect that it will. This is something that will actually be hampered by supply chain, so that's why I'm beginning to add to Magna, and I hope to get it at better and better and better prices. 3M, I did stop buying, and I put 2 M's instead of 3 M's. But 3M I did stop buying, but it is another asset that I would like to accumulate at lower prices. I just bought the small little position that I have, and it's just sitting there, and it's kind of like just for me to watch it. Another fantastic business that I would love to own for long periods of time. And I would love to get back into REITs. REITs are actually, they're not in my portfolio as of now, and I do actually, things are kind of working out because I have a lot of cash right now sitting in my retirement accounts because of the ConocoPhillips liquidations. And we also have the, actually, let me show you guys these too. I am also selling BHP, and BHP is actually down a little bit today, but, and then we also have Rio Tinto. So Rio Tinto is also, I think, Rio Tinto's on the hold list, but I'm selling BHP for sure. I'm taking profits. BHP's performed fantastic, as well as ConocoPhillips. All these commodity stocks in my portfolio have done really well. They've served their purpose. They've given me a great performance. It's time to, in my opinion, take those profits out, look for other assets, and redeploy that capital into some other assets. I'm not going to sell the entirety of ConocoPhillips again. I'm just going to keep some of it. But on a macro sense, I've discussed why I think it might be a good place to take these profits, pay those long-term capital gains taxes, and in some instances or some tranches, I'm not going to pay any taxes because they were in tax advantage accounts for actually good chunks of ConocoPhillips. So, yeah, I think on that note, I also want to say that I'm going to be working soon on producing that YouTube ETF with all the different YouTube stocks. We do see that, again, if I'm telling you this right now, if there is a return of liquidity into the markets, I do expect the YouTube stocks to perform very well over the short period of time. Longer term, I don't think they're going to perform fairly well, simply because the fundamentals are very poor for some of these companies. If they do change and do improve, because I want to actually leave the door open for that, because that actually can happen, then that could very much change the story. Of course, my mind is open to change as the facts change, and I always try to be as unbiased as possible. And when I do reviews for you guys, I try to be unbiased as possible. I try to kind of take not have any conclusions prior and just kind of let the numbers tell me. And I think I've shown that in some more recent videos where I have reviewed stocks that I have reviewed in the past, and I have stated that it has de-risked in some capacity. And even though the price has come down a lot, so I'm not saying, oh, the price is down a lot, oh, and now I think it should go down even lower. It's kind of more nuanced than that. It just depends on what the business is showing me. And that's about it. On that note, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. This is just a quick update again, talking about some things. It's the third video I made today. It is very late and I'm going to go to bed. So on that note, guys, I hope you guys have a great one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.